The envelope was already in the single father's hands when the CEO quietly ordered it taken away. It was supposed to be the largest bonus he had ever received, money he had earned after months of exhausting work while raising his young son alone. But before he could even open it, the envelope was placed into the hands of the CEO's nephew instead. What happened next looked like another ordinary act of workplace favoritism, until the company chairman walked into the office, checked the records, and made a decision that left the entire executive floor silent. Before we get into this emotional story, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that hard work should never be punished simply because someone has less power. The single father's name was Marcus Vale, a 38-year-old warehouse operations supervisor who had spent nearly 9 years working for Northbridge Logistics. Marcus was not the kind of employee who demanded attention. He arrived early, stayed late, and quietly solved problems before most people even knew there was a problem. He wore the same few neatly pressed shirts to work, carried an old leather lunch bag, and kept a small photograph of his 8-year-old son, Theo, inside his locker. Theo was the reason Marcus pushed himself so hard every day. After losing his wife several years earlier, Marcus had learned how to become a parent, cook, cleaner, homework helper, driver, and provider all at once. Some evenings he was so tired that he fell asleep sitting at the kitchen table, but every morning he got back up because his son was waiting for breakfast. That year had been particularly difficult. Northbridge had taken on a massive distribution contract, and Marcus had been assigned to oversee the warehouse expansion. For nearly 6 months, he worked through weekends, reorganized delivery schedules, trained new employees, and prevented several expensive shipping failures. One night, when a major system malfunction threatened to shut down the entire operation, Marcus stayed until nearly midnight and personally coordinated the recovery. His work helped the company avoid a major financial loss. When the quarterly performance review finally arrived, Marcus was informed that he had earned a substantial performance bonus. It was more money than he had ever received at one time in his career, and he immediately began thinking about what it could mean for Theo. He could finally replace the broken washing machine. He could pay the overdue school activity fees. He could put something toward the small college fund he had started with loose change and occasional overtime. Marcus tried not to celebrate too early. He had learned that life could change without warning. Still, that morning, as he walked into the Northbridge headquarters under the bright afternoon sun, he allowed himself to imagine Theo's face when he brought home something special. The company was holding a small employee recognition event in the main conference room. Employees gathered while senior executives stood near the front. At the center was Celeste Harrow, the 44-year-old CEO of Northbridge, a polished executive known for her expensive suits, sharp decisions, and carefully controlled public image. Standing beside her was her nephew, Brennan Harrow, a 26-year-old junior marketing employee who had joined the company only 8 months earlier. Brennan had little experience, but everyone knew his family connection had opened doors for him that other employees had to spend years pushing against. When Marcus's name was announced, several co-workers applauded sincerely. His supervisor praised his reliability and described him as one of the strongest operational leaders in the company. Marcus stepped forward, accepted the certificate, and received the sealed bonus envelope. For one brief moment, he felt something he had not felt in years, a sense that all those difficult mornings and sleepless nights had finally been recognized. But before he could return to his seat, Celeste noticed Brennan standing nearby. She changed the plan without hesitation. She announced that Brennan had recently demonstrated exceptional initiative and deserved a special financial award as well. Then, in front of everyone, she asked Marcus to hand over the bonus envelope so the accounting department could reallocate it as part of the executive recognition package. Marcus stood frozen. The room became uncomfortably quiet. The company policy clearly stated that performance bonuses were earned by individual employees and could not simply be transferred without documented approval. Yet Marcus knew that refusing the CEO publicly could put his job at risk. He thought about rent, groceries, Theo's school, and the fragile security he had spent years building. So he handed over the envelope. Brennan accepted it with an embarrassed smile that did nothing to hide his satisfaction. Marcus returned to his desk that afternoon and stared at the photograph of Theo inside his locker. He did not tell his son what had happened. When Theo asked that evening whether his father had received good news at work, Marcus simply smiled and said that the day had been long. He cooked dinner, helped with homework, and listened while Theo excitedly described a science project. Later, after his son went to bed, Marcus sat alone at the kitchen table. The unpaid bills were spread in front of him. He calculated what he had expected to receive and what he could now afford without it. The washing machine would have to wait. The school fees would have to be rearranged. The college savings would remain untouched. But the story did not end there. The following morning, an unexpected email arrived from the office of Chairman Everett Rourke, the 70-year-old founder of Northbridge Logistics. Everett had stepped away from daily operations years earlier but remained deeply involved in corporate oversight. Unlike many executives, he regularly reviewed employee compensation reports himself. He believed a company could not call itself successful if the people doing the hardest work were treated unfairly. Everett had requested the quarterly bonus records after noticing an unusual adjustment. Marcus's bonus appeared in the payroll system as earned, approved, and then transferred under an executive discretionary authorization. The authorization carried Celeste's approval. Everett ordered a complete review. What the auditors discovered made the situation even more serious. Marcus was not the first employee whose compensation had been redirected. Several smaller bonuses had been reassigned to favored departments, while unusually large discretionary payments had gone to people connected to senior management. Everett arrived at the headquarters that afternoon without announcing his visit. The sunlight poured through the tall glass windows as he walked across the executive floor. He carried a thin folder containing the payroll documents. Within minutes, the atmosphere changed. Department heads stopped talking. Assistants became unusually quiet. Celeste was called into the boardroom. The evidence was straightforward. Marcus had earned his bonus according to the company's performance formula. There was no legitimate business reason for taking it away. Brennan's award had no comparable performance justification. The transfer had been authorized solely through executive discretion, but that discretion had been used to benefit a family member. Everett did not allow the matter to become a public spectacle. He ordered the accounting department to restore Marcus's full bonus immediately, including the amount lost through the improper transfer. Then came the decision nobody expected. Because Celeste had personally authorized the transfer, the company would recover the improperly awarded amount from her own compensation. Brennan's payment was cancelled, and the amount already issued to him was recovered according to company policy. Everett also ordered an independent review of every discretionary bonus awarded under Celeste's leadership. When Marcus was called into the chairman's office, he walked in expecting another uncomfortable meeting. Instead, he found Everett sitting beside the window with the corrected payroll statement on the desk. Marcus learned that his full bonus had been restored. But the most meaningful part was not the money. Everett told him that his work had been noticed long before the bonus was ever discussed. His late nights, careful decisions, and loyalty to the company had mattered. Marcus left the office holding the corrected envelope with both hands. He did not feel victorious. He felt relieved. There was a difference. He thought about how close he had come to believing that doing the right thing did not matter anymore. That evening, Marcus stopped at a small grocery store before going home. He bought Theo his favorite dessert, something they had avoided buying because money was tight. When Theo saw the package, his face lit up. Marcus smiled as he watched his son celebrate something so simple. Later, he repaired the broken washing machine instead of replacing it, paid the overdue school expenses, and placed a modest amount into Theo's savings account. Weeks passed, and Northbridge changed. The board introduced stricter compensation controls and banned executives from approving financial awards involving close relatives. Employees were encouraged to report unfair treatment without fear of retaliation. Celeste remained CEO during the investigation but was required to surrender part of her compensation and accept formal disciplinary action. Brennan was transferred to a department where he would have to earn advancement without family influence. Marcus never asked for special treatment after that. In fact, he became even more dedicated to his work. But something inside him had changed. He no longer believed that being quiet meant being invisible. He understood that integrity could take time to be recognized, but it was never wasted. One bright afternoon several months later, Marcus stood outside the warehouse watching Theo run toward him after school. The boy carried a small handmade card from his classroom. Marcus opened it and found a simple drawing of the two of them standing beneath a blue sky. Underneath, Theo had written that his father was the hardest working person he knew. Marcus looked at the words for a long moment. The bonus had paid bills, fixed problems, and created a little breathing room. But that card meant more than any amount of money. Sometimes, justice does not arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes through a corrected paycheck, an honest record, or one person finally deciding that fairness matters. Marcus had spent years believing that strength meant carrying every burden alone. That day taught him something different. Sometimes strength is simply continuing to do what is right until the truth has a chance to catch up. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that hard work matters, and subscribe to Hardworking Dad. Your support helps us continue telling stories about ordinary people who keep going even when life gives them every reason to stop. And before the ending, here is a special request. Comment, "Hard work deserves respect," below if you believe every hardworking parent deserves fairness, dignity, and a second chance. Marcus never became the richest person at Northbridge. He never wanted to. What he gained was something far more valuable, the knowledge that his son would grow up seeing his father stand with dignity, even when someone more powerful tried to take away what he had earned. And sometimes, that is the greatest bonus a parent can receive.